Hi, this is Kevin Trainer. Welcome to my tutorial on using the prototype of the attendance system. Uh, this is a system that I'm designing for the use of my students at UWM to report their attendance in my classes. And when working with the prototype to test it, I'm going to want you to um, eh, essentially go through the steps that I go through to exercise the prototype, and we'll give you instructions on how to give us proper feedback about your experience with the prototype. So when the student types in the URL of the attendance system, then they're going to get the login page, and they're going to have to type in their email address and their password. Okay. Now that's only going to work if they've already registered for login credentials. Okay. So the first time they come through, they can type in their email address. Uh, let's say I'll use mine, trainer k at uwm.edu, and click on submit. But we're going to get a login error. And it says the username and password combination we've entered is not valid. Please confirm we've entered them correctly, etc. Okay. Now, I could retry the logon, but now I realize, well, I never registered for credentials, so let me do that. There's a link here for register for login credentials. And I can just put in my email address, trainerk at uwm.edu, and submit. And I get an error. And that's because the email address that I have entered is not known to the system. So the system knows all of the students that it's expecting for all the classes that are being administered by the system. And oh, geez, I'm not one of them. Okay, so let's retry that. It turns out that the email address that will work here, if you forget it, you can click on this little information icon. We have a magic email address for the prototype. It's scholarj at uwm.edu. Okay, so let's put that in. I've got the right end of it, but scholarj is what's going to work, and I'm going to submit. And I got the confirmation. A request to register for login credentials has been received. An email is being sent to me to complete the process. Okay, so I'm done. And I don't have to log out because I'm not really logged in. Okay. If I want to go back to the login page, though, I can go to the name of the system up here, and that's a link on every page to go back to the login screen. Okay. Let's imagine that I forgot my password. Okay. So what am I going to do? Well, perhaps I'll try to use it before I discover that I have forgotten it. But let's just say that I want to reset my password. Well, I can click on that link. And again, if I decide that I'm going to put in my real email address and submit, well, it's a password reset error because I'm trying to reset a password for a email address that's not registered with the system. So I could go back and register, or I could say, oh, I typed the wrong address. So let's retry. Okay, and again, it turns out that the magic email address is for scholarj@uwm.edu, and I submit, and I get a confirmation on that. So I would go and check my email and do the rest of my business with that. Okay. Okay, but let's go back to the login page by clicking on the name of the system. And let's really log in as scholarj at uwm.edu. And that's actually the email address for my favorite fictitious student, Jane Q. Scholar. And let's see what her password is. We have a little icon there. It's secret in lowercase. So let's type in secret and submit. And now we're at choose course dialog. And what we're going to do is have a drop down. Okay. And the drop down says that it knows that Jane Q. Scholar is in the systems analysis section 001. She's in the senior capstone 003. But what if Jane Q. Scholar and I get here and geez, I'm looking for a course that's not on the list. So I can pick a course not listed and submit. And I just get an error that says, well, you're going to have the need to contact your instructor. Because if the course is not listed, then the system doesn't know about you being in a further course, and it's only really your instructor who can solve that. So maybe I decide, oh, well, you know what? Let me choose one of the other ones. So retry choose course. And let's say that we want to, I forget what this says. Oh, this list will have one entry for each course, etc. So that's essentially documentation instead of a password hint. Let's pick the first one, okay? This systems analysis section 001, okay? And then let's say submit. And here we come to a report attendance page. And we can see that this is for the student Jane Q. Scholar. Here's the name of the course. Here's the current date. Here's the time of the course. Here's the location of the course. And then we have a password for each class meeting that is either going to be simply set for individually for every meeting, or perhaps we'll change it minute to minute. I'm not absolutely sure. But to get to find out what the valid password is, you can click over here when you're using the prototype. And it turned out it's honesty, because we only want the people who are really there to report their attendance. So this is honesty. Let's put in the wrong one. Let's test if it'll do the wrong one. So let's put in some foolish password, and we'll get a password error and a retry link. And this time let's put in honesty. Okay, and click on submit. And it confirmed that we reported our attendance. Okay. Now we're still logged into the system, and it probably would be good form to actively log ourselves out. So there's a link for that. And now we're back to the initial page. Now, one of the rules is that you can only report attendance during the class time itself. Actually, the rules are 15 minutes prior to the class time and 15 minutes after the class time and all the class time are is the period when the class is that class meeting is active and can be reported against. So the prototype gives us an example of what we would see if we tried to report against a class that it wasn't currently active for reporting against. So what does that look like? Well, let's log in again as Scholar J, and let's give it the old secret password. And let's pick the second course, this senior capstone, because I've set this up in the a prototype to show us what would happen if we tried to report our attendance when we didn't have a class meeting active. So what happens then? Well, we click on submit and we get a class meeting not active error. Okay, so maybe we want to choose a different course. We have a link for that. All right, or perhaps we realize, oh, you know what? I'm not in class. I don't know why I was trying to cheat. Let me log out of the attendance system. And there you go. So we've exercised all the functionality of the prototype. And what we would like you to do is to do the same and be prepared to give us your feedback about your experience and what your recommendations might be. That's all for now. Bye-bye.